Tharit, a 28-year-old journalist, tall and slender with pale skin, wearing a white shirt and jeans, arrives at the serene tea plantation in Chiang Rai province, following rumors of missing plantation workers. He has come as a freelance journalist, hoping to make a name for himself. But deep down, he feels a slight apprehension about the supernatural tales he has heard. The vast, sprawling tea plantation is blanketed in a light mist. Soft sunlight spills onto the green tea leaves, creating a shimmering effect as if under a spell. The fragrant aroma of tea permeates the area, creating a sense of peace, yet it is tinged with an eerie silence. Tharit walks into the tea house to meet Mai Sang, the owner of the plantation. Mai Sang, an elderly woman around 70, small and thin, with wrinkled skin and sorrowful eyes, dressed in a solid black cotton outfit, sat at the counter with a vacant expression. She recounted the story of the missing workers to Tharit in a trembling voice. Workers had been disappearing one by one over the past month. No one knew what happened. Some said they were attacked by wild animals, others that they fled into the forest. But Mai Sang believed something sinister was lurking in this tea plantation. Lung Feng, an old plantation worker sitting beside her, nodded in agreement. He recounted seeing a large black shadow wandering the plantation at night. The shadow was terrifying and possessed a certain power that made him feel so scared he had to hide. Tharit meticulously jotted down the stories told by Ma Sang and Lung Pong. He tried to stay composed and look for a possible reason, but he couldn't find any answers. The silence of the tea house began to make him feel uneasy, as if a pair of eyes were constantly watching him. The sun started to dip below the horizon, and the fog grew thicker. Tharit excused himself from Ma Sang and Lung Pong to return to his accommodation. He walked out of the tea house feeling insecure and paranoid, looking around as if a black shadow could appear at any moment. The once sweet scent of tea had turned oppressive and chilling. At dawn, Tharit woke up feeling anxious. He decided to explore the tea plantation to find more evidence regarding the workers' disappearances. A thick fog blanketed the area, worsening visibility to only a few meters. Tharit walked deeper into the plantation and found large footprints on the damp soil. The footprints looked unusual, unlike those of any human or animal he had ever seen. They were too large and had features resembling sharp claws. He quickly took a photo as evidence, his heart beginning to pound with panic. Tharit followed the footprints to the forest area near the tea plantation. He found that the trail continued on the ground until it disappeared into the dense forest. He tried to follow the trail into the woods, but found it was full of dangers and obstacles. Dry branches blocked the path, and tall trees obscured the sunlight, making the forest dark and terrifying. Along the way, he met Thawi, a plantation worker who was picking tea leaves. Thawi was a thin young man wearing old, faded clothes. Fear lurked in his eyes. Thawi said he didn't dare enter the forest after hearing stories about the Black Shadow. Sarit returned to the workers' housing for more information. He met Pa Bunma, an elderly woman who had lived in the housing for a long time. Pa Bunma was kind and compassionate, but she also seemed frightened by the events. She recounted seeing the Black Shadow appear in the tea plantation several times. The shadow usually appeared around the time a worker went missing. Pa Bunma believed the shadow was a malevolent spirit seeking revenge on someone in the plantation. Tharit tried to ask for more details about the Black Shadow, but Pa Bunma couldn't say much due to her fear. Hoping to find more clues, Tharit decided to travel to the Chiang Rai Provincial Library to research the history of the Surin tea plantation. He spent hours searching through old documents until he found a book that told the legend of this plantation. The book recounted that in the past, the Surin tea plantation was the site of a hill tribe village that had cultivated tea for generations. However, this village suffered a catastrophe from a great fire that claimed many lives. The surviving villagers believed that the spirits of the deceased still lingered in the tea plantation, awaiting their revenge. Tharit contacted Ajarn Somchai, a local historian, for advice on the legend of the tea plantation. Ajarn Somchai was a stout, middle-aged man wearing thick-lensed glasses, his face full of smiles. He explained that the legend of the fire at the plantation was a story passed down among villagers for generations. Ajarn Somchai believed there might be some truth hidden in this story, and it could be the cause of the current worker disappearances. He also added that in the past, someone had tried to destroy the tea plantation to build a resort, but had to give up due to various strange incidents. Tharit returned to the tea plantation and met with Me Sang. He told her the story he had researched. Me Sang listened intently, her eyes welling up with tears. She explained that her family had inherited the tea plantation from their ancestors, and that she believed the spirits of those who died in the fire were still protecting the plantation. Me Sang said she had seen the Black Shadow appear several times and would often perform a ritual offering to her ancestors to ask for protection. Ma Sang decided to hold a ritual of offering to the ancestors to ask for protection and to appease the malevolent spirit. Thorit was invited to join this ritual. He saw the villagers in the tea plantation preparing various offerings, such as fruits, flowers, and both savory and sweet dishes. The ancient shrine, located in the middle of the tea plantation, was adorned with brightly colored fabrics. The candlelight made the atmosphere feel sacred and awe-inspiring. Lung Fong officiated the ceremony. He wore white clothes and chanted in a loud, clear voice. The ritual began in the dead of night. The sound of chanting echoed throughout the area. Thorit noticed something strange during the ceremony. The candles placed around the shrine began to extinguish one by one. The temperature in the area dropped rapidly. A thick fog started to envelop the shrine, making it hard to see anything clearly. The villagers began to show signs of fear and agitation. Some started to cry and pray for protection. Lung Pong continued to chant undaunted, but his face looked tense and worried. Suddenly, a strong wind blew, causing the trees around the shrine to sway. All the remaining candles were extinguished. Everyone was plunged into complete darkness. Thorit heard faint whispers coming from all around him. The sound was frightening and chilling, as if someone was calling his name. Lung Fong stopped chanting and turned to look at Thorit with eyes full of fear. He said in a trembling voice, "It has come, the shadow in the tea plantation." In the darkness, Thorit slowly saw a large black shadow appear among the tea plants. The shadow was human-like in shape, but far too large to be an ordinary person. It moved slowly, as if floating in the air. It had no face, no limbs, and no details that could identify it. It was simply a terrifying and horrifying black shadow. Thorit tried to compose himself and take a picture of the shadow, but his camera failed to work. Ma Sang and Lung Fong both screamed in fear. They knelt on the ground and prayed desperately for protection. The other villagers did the same. The atmosphere in the tea plantation was filled with fear and despair. The black shadow slowly moved closer to the shrine. It stopped just a few meters away. Thorit noticed that the shadow was surrounded by a dark black aura. That black aura seemed to absorb all light. The black shadow began to emit a sound. It sounded like a mixture of screams, moans, growls, and whispers. The sound caused everyone pain and suffering. Thorit tried to analyze the sound, but could not find any meaning in it at all. The black shadow began to reach out its hand to grab Mei Sang. Mei Sang screamed in pain and tried to resist, but she could not withstand the shadow's power. Lung Fong tried to go in and help Mei Sang, but the black shadow violently swatted him away. After the incident at the shrine, Thurit decided to visit Pa Ngum, an elderly woman who survived a fire incident decades ago. Pa Ngum's house was located near the Tea Plantation, an old, dilapidated wooden house. Pa Ngum was an elderly woman with sorrowful eyes and wrinkled skin. She recounted the fire that claimed the lives of all her family members. Pa Ngum said that before the fire, she had seen a black shadow appear in the village many times. That black shadow would usually appear when bad things were about to happen. Pa Ngum opened an old chest for Thurit to see. Inside were old photographs and written records about the village and the tea plantation. The photographs showed the lives of the people in the village in the past. They were happy and lived together peacefully. But the written records were filled with stories of conflict and loss. Thurit noticed that in many of the photos, small black shadows appeared behind the people. Those shadows seemed to be watching the people of the village. Thurit brought all the evidence he had collected to the police. He reported the disappearance of the workers at the tea plantation and suspected that this matter might be related to supernatural events. The police accepted the report and promised to conduct a thorough investigation, but they didn't seem to believe Thurit's story very much. They thought the workers' disappearance might just be an accident or an ordinary crime. One night, while Thurit was working in his room, he heard a girl crying from outside. The sound was sad and pitiful. Thurit went out to find the source of the sound and found that it came from an abandoned house near the tea plantation. The house looked very old and dilapidated, covered in dust and cobwebs. Thurit cautiously entered the house. He found that the inside was empty. No one was there. Suddenly, Thurit felt an icy cold touch on his hand. He looked down to find a little girl, about 7 years old, standing beside him. She wore a dirty white dress and had long, uncombed hair. The girl looked at Thurit with sorrowful eyes and was crying. The girl said that she was the spirit of a girl who died in the fire decades ago. She came here to ask for Thurit's help. The girl explained that she had been constantly haunted by the black shadow. She couldn't go anywhere and had to suffer inside this house. The girl said that the black shadow was the one who caused the fire, and it wanted to possess this tea plantation. Tharit tried to help the girl, but just then the black shadow appeared. It lunged at Tharit at high speed. Tharit tried to dodge but couldn't escape. The black shadow grabbed him and began to drain his life force. Tharit regained consciousness after being attacked by the black shadow. He found himself back at the Tea Plantation shrine. Mei Seng and Lung Pang were waiting for him with concern. Mei Seng recounted that she had a vision about the plantation's past. The vision revealed that the black shadow was the spirit of the former tea plantation owner who died decades ago. He was a very greedy man who wanted to monopolize the tea business. Therefore, he used black magic to drive away his competitors. But the black magic had dire consequences, leading to his death. Lung Feng recounted that in the past, people had tried to destroy the tea plantation to build a resort, but had to give up because various strange incidents occurred. Lung Feng believed that the spirit of the former plantation owner was protecting this plantation and did not want anyone to destroy it. Tharit realized that the black shadow did not want to possess the plantation for personal gain, but rather to protect it from external threats. Tharit, Mei Seng, and Lung Pong collaborated on a plan to stop the black shadow. They decided to perform a ceremony to release the spirit of the former tea plantation owner from his suffering. They prepared offerings and prayed with faith. The moonlight shone down on the shrine, making the atmosphere feel sacred and tranquil. The spirit releasing ceremony began. Long Fong conducted the ritual. He recited sacred chants and sprinkled holy water on the statue of the former plantation owner. Mei Sang lit incense and prayed for his spirit to find peace. Tharit offered encouragement and fully supported the ritual. The moonlight shone down on the shrine, making the atmosphere feel sacred and tranquil. As the ceremony proceeded, the black shadow began to appear. It tried to disrupt the ritual and frighten everyone. But Lung Feng and Mei Seng did not give up. They continued to chant and perform the ritual steadfastly. Suddenly, the spirit of the former plantation owner appeared. He was in a state of torment and pain. He said that he was being controlled by the black shadow and forced to harm people. Tharit tried to talk to the spirit of the former plantation owner. He said that he understood his feelings and wanted to help him escape his suffering. The spirit of the former plantation owner replied that he wanted to be released. He wanted to forget the past and start a new life. Tharit, Mei Sang, and Lung Fong joined together in prayer, sending their spiritual energy to the spirit of the former plantation owner. The black shadow began to weaken and gradually faded away. As the first sunlight of the new day shone, the black shadow vanished completely. The spirit of the former tea plantation owner was released and passed on to a peaceful afterlife. The serene tea plantation returned to peace. Tharit, Mei Sang, and Lung Fong looked at the tea plantation with a sense of relief and happiness. They knew they had done the right thing. They had helped a tormented spirit and protected the plantation from harm. Ma Sang thanked Tharit for helping her tea plantation. She recounted that over the past few years, she had faced much fear and suffering. But now it was all over. Lung Fong said he would continue to look after the tea plantation and preserve its ancient traditions. Tharit was glad to be a part of this change. He learned that supernatural stories were not just tales, but a hidden truth. Tharit left the serene tea plantation with a different feeling than before. He returned to being a freelance journalist, but now he had a story that was more interesting and meaningful than ever. He wrote an article about the events that took place at the tea plantation and published it for the public. He hoped his story would help people realize the importance of respecting ancient beliefs and traditions and learn to coexist peacefully with spirits.